come from. At the very most, it might feel like a neighborhood, but in reality, there are actually 32 different neighborhoods. What constitutes a neighborhood is something we'll get into in a second. Real quick, this is the map that you guys all got yesterday. On the back side, you have a map of Tel Aviv, a map of Jerusalem, and a map of the Old City of Jerusalem. The Old City we're going to be on Sunday, and we're going to get to explore some of it on Sunday. But today, we are outside the walls of the Old City. The walls of the Old City of Jerusalem were built in the mid-16th century by the Ottoman Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent. He built the walls of the Old City, and from that point forward, the Old City has sort of stood in the very same place that it has since the mid-16th century. Life in Jerusalem was inside of these walls. A couple of people, if you lived outside of the walls, it meant that you were a farmer, you had an estate. The bulk of the population was inside the walls. And why exactly was that? Because think about what life might have been like in the Middle East, in this region, under the Ottoman Empire, in the 16th, 17th, 18th centuries. Time to wake up. It's not that safe, okay? And inside these big, strong walls, and it was a common thing in ancient cities to have the city be walled for security. And so the people living in Jerusalem felt a certain sense of safety and security living within these walls. So much so that they didn't really want to leave. So much so that when a very famous man named Sir Moses Montefiore, he came from England, he was very wealthy, and he was a very big philanthropist. He came over and over and over again. He was very focused on the situation of the Jews living here in what was then Ottoman-controlled Palestine. And he came and visited, saw the state of the Jewish community here living in the Old City of Jerusalem, and was dismayed. Because everyone wanted to be here, the population, Shabbat Shalom. The population of the Old City was huge and overcrowded. And what happens when you're living in such tight quarters? People would get sick, and it was dirty and filthy. And he saw it and was really kind of horrified by the conditions in which they were living, and decided that he would do something about it. So he purchased a plot of land outside of the Old City. Okay, he purchased a plot of land outside of the walls of the Old City, and with anybody from New Orleans? With money from another source, he was able to build a new neighborhood. This was 1860, the first neighborhood built outside the walls of the Old City. And he was trying to entice people, Shabbat Shalom, to come and live in this new neighborhood. He built a windmill so that they would have a way to support themselves. This was his plan to alleviate some of this hardship that the Jewish population of the Old City was experiencing. But nobody wanted to leave, because inside the walls of the Old City here, they felt very safe. Now, eventually, the incentives became so good, he actually offered them free rent. And so little by little, people started to agree to live there. And they put live in quotes, because what they would do, he was beckoning and nobody was checking them. What they would do, during the day, they would go out to this new neighborhood that he built, called Mishkan Moshe right here on the map. Okay? So you can see this funny shape here in the black line. That is the Old City. Okay? So that puts everything into scope. So it's really close to the Old City, but it's outside the walls. And the people would go out, they would work in the windmill, and they would be out there for the bulk of the day. And just as the sun was starting to set, they would run across the valley, go into the gates, and just before the gates were shut for the night, they would go and sleep with their family, whoever else they knew, friends and family who were living in the Old City. They'd sleep there. In the morning, the sun would rise, the gates would open, they'd go out again across the valley to this new neighborhood. Now, it went on like that for a little while until there was a great cholera epidemic, an outbreak that happened in the Old City. And